All right, everybody, Kenny Smith, Total Force Holdings. This video is actually going straight to YouTube and other sources because I think it's important. All right. There's a lot of people getting into the Second Amendment world that I've noticed coming into it over the past couple of years. Once it became known that I was into this kind of thing and taught stuff like this with the crew I was doing construction work with from really the start of COVID up until August of 2022. All right. What kind of gun should I get? That was a common question. You sit there and talk them through it. And then it was, okay, cool. What kind of holster should I get? It's like, yeah. Like, and then you tell them, it's like, dude, you're going to need a new belt. What? What's wrong with my belt? That's where a lot of people fuck up with this, okay? It is really easy to have a really good gun that really fits your lifestyle, really fits your goals, and think you need something else, even though you're carrying it in probably the most ideal holster for you because your belt isn't up to standard. What do I mean by standard? Your belt needs to be stiff. All right. Yeah, I know. Stiff belts are uncomfortable. You're going to see a lot of this one in this video. This belt is almost 13 years old. It's like 12 and a half years old. And I wore it quite a bit. I wore it every day for years and years. All right. Really up until about 2019. So I wore it every day for like 9 years. And now I still wear it on occasion. All right. So that's one thing. You got longevity. Here's how I want you guys and gals to look at this. What are you hanging on that belt? You're hanging a firearm, probably extra ammunition, maybe a light, most likely your phone. All right, I had to take it off for the purpose of filming, but that juggernaut clip ain't for nothing right there, okay? That's an expensive-ass telephone like I'm sure yours is, okay? So you're hanging all this money on this belt. Don't you want that belt to be built to a level where it can actually sustain holding weight? Most belts that you find in department stores or clothing stores for that matter, they're not built for that. Most of them are built to be a fashion statement anymore. Some of them are built to hold some tension to keep your pants up. But most of them are just built to be a fashion statement and an accessory anymore at this point. So we're going to go ahead and talk about one thing that a lot of people start with, and that's the leather belt. Your leather belt needs to be double layer, okay? Now, this one, because it's old, starting to fall apart, you can actually see that it is, in fact, double layer, okay? All right, the stitching's starting to go on this belt, so now I only wear it when I have to wear a suit and tie, because when it's buckled, you can't tell it's falling apart. But that is comfortable now. It only took me a couple years. But it is double layer bull hide. It is very, very stiff. It honestly took me about 9 months of wearing it every day to get it to where it conformed to my body. But I will say this. Once you get it to where it conforms to your body, it just like naturally wants to be there. Okay? Once you get it to where it conforms, you can almost just throw it. All right? And if you catch it in about the right area, okay, it kind of naturally wants to hold your shape. Not all the way, but that's once you get it broken in, it's very, very good for that. Now, one thing about the leather belt that a lot of people don't think about until they have to. You got your leather belt on. Now, I pulled the keeper off of this because when I started carrying my Taser Pulse, I used the belt loops on my Taser Pulse as a belt keeper, or at least one of them. So you have to make that emergency head call, and you have to, and this one involves sitting down. Loop your thumb, pop it, rock it. All right, you might have to do that twice, right? It's a whole lot, unless you're using a Cobra buckle, which I've got the belt on that's in my war belt, right? A belt in my war belt. The belt that's the foundation of my war belt. It's a Cobra buckle, all right? Or you know, a tri-release or something like that, the quick release type of belt buckle. This old pin and hole is probably going to be the fastest to get undone. So if you're traveling or something like that, one of these makes a lot of sense, because especially if you're traveling, because you never know when you're going to get something that don't agree with you, especially traveling abroad. And that could save you a lot of embarrassment, right? But that's your basic leather belt. It needs to be double layer. It needs to be stiff. There are some with stiffening inserts in there. Those are fine. All right. But understand that with this old style of buckle, if you end up with a bout of your stomach giving you a fit, that can save you some frustration. All right, now I made the mistake of buying the department store leather belts myself, and I can tell you right now, they do not hold guns well. They do not last very long, and that one has lasted for almost 13 years. Okay. So when I started getting into carrying concealed legally, I was in the military. All right, I was in the Marine Corps Reserve at the time I turned 21, and all us military guys were wearing rigger belts like this. All right, this is a newer riggers belt. This is not from my time in service, but nonetheless, very similar. So I started wearing a riggers belt in high school. I actually still have my riggers belt from high school. I don't know where I'll put it, but it's either in my house or in this shop somewhere. I actually wore it a few months ago, and I don't know where I put it after that. But nonetheless, riggers belt. 2 ways you can get them: with or without a D-ring. That D-ring is for clipping in to rappel with. And yeah, at least my old one would support me rappelling. I've actually done that with it. Not from very high, but just enough to test the theory, right? This one I haven't tried it, but it's built very similarly, so I'm sure it would. All right, nothing special brand. So these, again, you can get these with a Cobra buckle or with this conventional roller where it goes underneath the centerpiece and over the top. So if you get that restroom emergency, you got to actually pull it all the way through. Sometimes it's faster, most of the time it's not, at least in my experience. So if you're prone to that kind of thing, then maybe this one isn't for you. But it is quite stiff, all right? These are typically going to be a little bit wider than your dress type belts. Like this one's 1 3/4 inches. The other belts, like the leather belt and the other two you're going to see in this video, are 1.5 inches, which can be a problem because a lot of men's pants belt loops are set up around 1.5 inch belts, although some of them will fit 1 3/4 inches. All right, but most of them are going to be meant for 1.5 inches, which also bears in mind another thing to think about. Your belt loops on all of your equipment that you're going to wear on your belt need to match the width of the belt, right? Like my Juggernaut clip, this is actually meant it's big enough it'll go on my duty belt. So this will go 2 inches. That's good. Safari Land 079 double mag pouch for when I'm carrying the big boy, my 17. And it's 6354 DO. Those are 1 3/4 inch belt loops, all right? Notice, when I say this belt is stiff, that's 2 19-round Glock 17 magazines loaded, all right? If you don't believe they're loaded, I don't know if you see the primer divots back there, but they are, in fact, as loaded as they get, okay? Now, that's meant for police duty. Okay, like detectives and stuff. And if I try to take my 5.76 GLS, I think it's 5.76. Yeah, it's 5.76. This is 1.5 inch belt loop. So I can get the free end there in there. But see how it's crimping that down? Right, you don't want that. All right. Now, conversely, we take that 1.5 inch leather belt. And voila, okay? So you want to make sure your accessories fit your belt. All right, what does that mean? Buy a belt that works with the accessories you want and your pants. If you can't get both, get a belt that works with your pants and find accessories that work with your belt. You can find just about any type of concealment accessories you want that'll work on 1.5 inch belt all day long. All right, so I replaced that riggers belt with this. This is by far the stiffest belt I own. All right, this is the Specialist Pro from Mastermind Tactics. All right, it operates very, very similarly to that riggers belt. It just uses a plastic buckle instead of metal. And my riggers belt originally had Velcro, but I used that riggers belt as a regular belt and a duty belt for a while. So it got, that Velcro ended up getting tore off. But I really like this belt. Again, it's 1.5 inches. And to put this in perspective, $12 rounds in the magazine. That is a That is my fully loaded carry gun. Okay, so when I put this about where I would wear this holster, right, which is going to be right about there, that belt is stiff enough to support the weight of the gun, loaded. That is ideal and what you want, okay? Why is that? Well, the problem comes in when you use something small, like this taser. So I don't care how flat your midsection is, your body is pushing on this. It wants to do that. When you've got that stiff belt pushing into it, it gives it a foundation, all right? If the belt is flexible, which will, and I actually do use this belt for special circumstances, right? See how much give that has? Compare that to that, okay? The stiff belt keeps that weapon from moving. So when we see these micro compact guns that a lot of people are carrying nowadays, yeah, they're light, but they don't have much barrel putting leverage on the inside of the waistband. Remember, if the top of your body pushes on the grip of the gun, the barrel pushing against your body is what's going to keep it in place. So if it's got less on the muzzle end than on the top end, that can actually end up with it flipping out over the end of your belt, which can range from embarrassing to career-ending to fatal when it comes to consequences. So just something to think about. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of the Glock 19X and Glock 45. It's because when they're in the holster, they're just way too top-heavy. So the last belt we're going to talk about is this one here. This is a very specialized kind of belt, although I do recommend it for a lot of people. This is not a pants belt. This is not something you would thread through your belt loops. All right. What this does, this is the Specialist Covert from Mastermind Tactics. What this does is this allows you to take your normal, everyday concealed carry gear and I'm actually putting my EDC stuff on here. Like, this is what I carry every day. I've done videos on that from as recent as last month, and it hasn't changed. So, if y'all want to see, matter of fact, there's videos on my Instagram, and I think there might be one on here of me taking this exact setup off right after I get back from a run. All right, so I've got my EDC set up right there. I'm gonna take my taser out just for the sake of. So now what I would do is there's two ways you can go about this. All right, if not for my clinch pick, right? So if I wasn't carrying that, I'll take that off for the sake of this. I could take all this crap and shove it under the waistband of my gym shorts, right? Or shove this whole belt, put this on, pull my gym shorts up over top of it. These rubber traction strips hold it in place, right? So it doesn't move. And I've got all my stuff where I'm used to reaching for it, right? Exactly how I'm used to running in normal pants, right? So that works great, but because I like my clinch pick, right? I'll actually wear that on the outside of my gym short so I can get to my clinch pick if I need it. All right, what this does, this allows me to convert my regular carry setup into a belly band. Now, here's a couple of things to think about with that. Number one, ladies. We all go to the range. We wear our gun belt. Y'all are no different. I've got several female friends who are girly girls in the street, but you know they want to run and hang with the boys and wear all their tactical girl stuff, just like we want to wear all our tactical guy stuff when we go to the range. All right, and then they got leggings on and they're carrying a smaller gun and what the hell? Yeah, I know there are now leggings and like ladies workout shorts and stuff like that that have belt loops on them, and that's great. That's a great thing. But if you don't have those, one of those belts right there, and you can wear it like a belly band, just catch the elastic, reach under there, and get to your normal stuff, albeit maybe a little bit smaller sized, right? And that now it's a workable situation. I know people who are in, let's just say, certain professions where they are going to immediately lose their job if they are found to be armed. Like immediately, like no questions asked. They don't care if it's a permit. They don't care if you're a part-time cop somewhere and are covered under LEOSA. That just means they can't get you charged. All right, that's all that means. Does not mean they can't fire you, and they will. So I know people who have to wear certain light garments that typically end up with the tail of the top being tucked in, scrubs. I'm talking about scrubs. And they'll use a belt like that so that they can use their same normal type of stuff without having to go to a separate belly band. Because belly bands, I'll go ahead and tell you, everybody I know that's used them thinks they're very comfortable until they have to reholster their weapon or something else in it. And then you got to take the whole damn thing off, and it's just problematic. All right. So now with that, you can use your normal stuff. That way your weapon manipulations as far as drawing, reloading, drawing this, drawing that, reholstering, none of that changes, right? So those are, this type of thing is something I highly recommend. And quite frankly, this allows me to carry a normal fighting pistol when I'm out going for a run or something like that without having to revert to something considerably smaller and thus less capable. So a specialized kind of belt like this can go a long way. Another time I'll wear this belt is I might utilize either my Specialist Pro or good old faithful here, but I have to wear a tucked in shirt for business. Okay? And I might have other crap on my belt, but maybe I don't want my firearm to be visible. Okay? So, case in point, I was working a security gig a while back. We were in a suit and tie. We were expected to be armed. We were told by contract to be armed, but it was also stipulated that it was not to be visible at all, period, point blank, bottom line. Cool. I'm down with that. No problem. So what did I do? I put my normal EDC on, right, to include my taser in there because, again, it looks like a firearm. And I put it on this belt, and I pulled my dress pants up, and I run my dress shirt over, and I cinched up my dress pants, tuck my shirt in, hook my top belt up, so that if my coat rolled back, you saw my badge, my baton, my OC spray, my radio, my flashlight, and one pair of cuffs. But deep down, what else have I got? A Glock 19, a taser, right? Oh, and I have my clinch pick visible because, yeah, that wasn't a big deal. So I had everything I would normally carry in addition to the less than lethals and restraints that I would need for that gig. Ended up not needing any of it, but contract requirements said I had to have it, so I had it. But yeah, so while this is not the cliche gun belt, this is very much a specialized kind of gun belt that you should all look into. So which of these would I recommend? Well, if you have to wear dress clothes, good old-fashioned leather. Good old-fashioned leather. Right? Attitude in the South, this is also an attitude adjuster. Okay, you can do all kinds of stuff with it if you're into the martial arts side of things, and you're carrying, like, say, dress clothes and you got your EDC under a tucked in shirt. You can do all kinds of stuff with one of these, combatives wise. So good choice here, the leather, because it works just about anywhere. Can you use a leather belt on the range normally? Absolutely. People did it for decades. All right, you don't have to be super tactical all the fucking time. All right, but you can still use it for when you're dressed up. I will use this Mastermind Tactics belt when I'm dressed down, a little bit more low profile. Another thing, because of the plastic adjustment, it doesn't really tie into gun belt work, but if I'm going into an airport or something like that, it doesn't set off metal detectors and shit. So two ways you can go about it. One, you can just loop it through quickly. So if I knew I was going to an airport, I might just do that so I can get it off quicker. Or if my stomach was upset. All right, let's face it, it happens to all of us. If you don't want to show that it's set up for being taken off quickly, you can just run it over the center. Or to be more secure, which I would highly recommend if you're carrying a weapon, run it through all three. The Riggers belt, yeah, they're cool and all, and that there is absolutely a case to be made for the fact that that heavy end could be used almost like a slingshot. So you might want to wear one of these in like a non-permissive environment. But I'll tell you, if you wear one of these in a non-permissive environment, this buckle setup right here, when the security guy sees it, screams gun. So you're going to get some extra scrutiny. Ask me how I know. Done it. All right. I've been the one that got extra scrutiny, and I've been the one that saw it and gave extra scrutiny. So just something to think about. But gun belts, all right? Look at it like this. My EDC setup which just the stuff that goes on my belt, about $50, $450, about $500 right there. Oh, wait a minute, about $100 pair of sights on there. Fuck it, we'll call it $550. About $300, $30, $880, $30, $910, about $40, $950. I don't remember what I paid for this. We're going to assume it was free. Don't remember what the case cost. $400 was $450 for that phone. All right, $1,400 is hanging off that belt. I don't know about you guys, but my $1,400, I want it to stay in the same place so it ain't going nowhere. All right, I hope y'all feel the same way. So back to reiterating, what do we need? Stiff belt. It's got to support that weight. All right, it needs to be durable. It needs to last us a long time because good quality gun belts are not cheap. And cheap gun belts usually, keyword usually, are not good. Okay, you want it to last a long time so you get a good return on your investment. The belt width needs to match the width on the belt attachment for anything you're going to hang off of it. If y'all got any more questions about gun belts or anything else like that, hit me up. This, because I think it's an important thing that more of the people need to get out and hear, especially people new getting into the Second Amendment. This one isn't, but unless it's something like this, all my other videos, long format like this, they go to Patreon first. It sits there for a month, and then I make it out public to YouTube. All right, unless it's something that I want to go out to a broader audience immediately like this, because I know so many people who are getting into the Second Amendment in the days after COVID and the summers of love from 2020 on, that feel the need to exercise their Second Amendment rights, and that's a good thing. And I don't want them to end up wasting money replacing good holsters and good weapons and stuff like that because we're all hanging it on a shit belt. When it comes to your method of carry, your belt, if you're choosing to wear on or about your waistline, your belt is the foundation of the house that is your concealed carry system. So I hope y'all find that beneficial. I hope y'all go out and buy a good gun belt if you ain't already got one. If you want to check me out on Patreon, I'd certainly appreciate it. There'll be a link down in the description box below, along with links to all my other social medias and a link tree down there. So if you want to follow me on any of that, by all means, hit me up. I'm more than happy to see you there. And until next time, y'all stay frosty, stay dangerous.